Hello, Kelly here, Kelly's Soroka Life, and I am so glad you're here today. I am today going to introduce you to my first installment in Lessons from Lenormand. So I have in the past taken, a few Lenormand classes, and I remember when I first learned about Lenormand, what it was, I wasn't very thrilled with it. It seemed very not like tarot. And it's not like tarot. I mean, there are some things that are in common with it. It is intuitive. It is reading about or for someone and or something, a situation. It gives you insight, but it is much more um, it's much more prescriptive, I want to say. It's much more, you have the meanings of the cards. There's only 36 cards. They're very simple. And there sometimes are playing card associations, but for the most part, it's just the card and the number. And the cards play and the numbers play into a house system where you have each card has a number and then it has a corresponding house. Like the first card or the rider card is one, so it's house one. And you go through all 36 like that. So it is a little bit more. I mean, it's got a format like tarot does, but it is different. And at first, the first couple of classes I took, and the first times that I was introduced to it, we learned the cards and we learned about how it was different than tarot, or how it was its own reading system. And then it seemed like I was just all of a sudden thrown into the grand tableau, which is where you use all 36 cards to do a reading. And that just seemed overwhelming to me. And I never, and I don't think it is because I took very short classes. I took very classes that were like only a month long. And so it was, introducing you to the cards and then all of a sudden grand tableau, and which is okay. And I did get used to it. And it was something that I got introduced to, but it was not something that I really felt comfortable with. And it took me a while to find a couple of classes and a few books and resources online that were longer, that were a little bit more in depth, not truly studying like or getting a certification in Lenormand, but more in depth. And so I felt like that I got more out of it, and I did more practicing with the cards. And so once I felt more comfortable with the cards and the numbers and their associations and what they meant, then I was able to go a little bit more in depth. So I think, those first few times that I was introduced to Lenormand was a good way for me to get into it. It was a good way for me to learn something new and to say, this might not be ready for this yet, but I know later on down the road I might be ready for it, and it might be something that I want to bring into my practice. And it was. And once I took some classes and felt more comfortable with it, I definitely have used Lenormand a lot more since then. And then in the last few months or so, I feel like that I've kind of lost my connection with the Lenormand cards. And I got a new little Lenormand deck, and it's really cute. And I really like using it. But I started doing some readings with it, and I was like, I don't remember really what this card means. I know that it means this, but I'm not sure what else it means. And it was kind of hard for me to I was it was hard for me to put the cards together. I was putting cards out, and I was doing it like a 3 card reading or a 5 card reading. And, I was doing okay with it. But once I got past like doing a 9 card reading or anything more than that, it was just, I was like, I don't remember how these go together. I don't remember, I just felt like that I didn't have a flow with the cards anymore. And that I remember that happening with tarot when, years ago when I learned tarot, I felt that way too. I felt like that it was a lot of just learning and which I needed to learn the structure. But then I also had to cross that bridge of learning the structure and then being able to read on my own. And it was just a lot of practice. And I think I used to do a lot of practice with Lenormand, and I felt like that I brought it in a lot of times. And I would do readings, I would do grand tableaus and just read, I wouldn't, I still don't do it as in depth as, someone else who has studied Lenormand longer, practiced Lenormand longer, but I can do it. I can set out a grand tableau, ask a question, and I can read what the cards say, and I can get a really good message with it. And Lenormand, it is very different. It's very different than reading tarot cards or any other cards, oracle cards, any other cards. It's very different. It has its own flavor, its own messages, its own way to connect with the divine, the spirit, your higher self, however you connect. It's definitely got its own way of connecting. And I really personally like to use it when I'm doing ancestor work because it does have a much more definite meaning to the cards. And a lot of them are, and you'll see as we do the study, a lot of them are considered positive, and a lot of them are considered negative, and a lot of them are considered neutral. And so you have this positive and negative, and again, not negative in a sense that it is something that is bad, but it's something that you need to look out for. It's something that you need to watch out for. You need to know that it's coming up. And so it's very, I'd like to use it when I'm doing ancestor work because I can see some of the things that happened in their life. When I'm connecting to an ancestor, I can do a reading for them with Lenormand, and I can get very specific information about them or from them or with them. And so I really like that. And I really like using it for that. And I can see, like, if I'm looking at something, maybe an ancestor, I'm trying to connect with how they lived their life. What was their career like? And I can do that and use Lenormand cards and get really definitive, clear answers. And so I really like doing that. And it's really good when I have situations and I don't know, it's like something is hidden and I don't know what it is that is hidden. And I don't know, it's one of those when I just get to a point and I'm like, I just don't know. I don't know what to do in this situation. And I've tried these things and I've tried these things and, it's just not working out. I just need to know some information about it. And that I'll a lot of times do a 9 card reading, and it will give me just a lot of information. It's because there's the ways that you will see that the cards are read, and using the definitions of the cards and the meanings of the cards. It's just and the numbers of the cards, and even looking at the cards and the way they're laid out, how they're looking at each other, where they are. And when you get in the grand tableau, you can do that too. Look at where specific cards are that mean certain things, and you can see, are they close together? Are they far apart? Are they close together? Are they far apart? And so you can see that where are you? What? And usually, using the man and woman, I usually will use the woman for me, and then the man for whoever else that I might be reading about. And so if it's my husband, then it's him. If it's my kids, and might be one of them, although sometimes that's the child. But if it's a friend or somebody else in my family, or a coworker or something like that I'm reading about, then I can use that other the man for that. And I might use that, and that's just a way that I do it. And you'll see that decks are very different now, and there might be a gentleman and a lady, man and a woman. There might be different ones: an older man, a younger man, a younger woman, older woman, and you can mix and match. Some of them have significator, and partner or something like that. And so there's lots of decks, and that's one of the great things about looking at new decks and using new decks, is that you can very well put yourself in whatever situation it is, and a deck will help you do that. And so you can pick whatever significator you want to use and do it that way. And if you identify and feel like that the woman is the card is the one that is you, then you can do that. And there might be things that you are reading about specifically, so you might use a specific card as a significator. If you are doing maybe a financial spread and you are looking at your finances, you're looking at maybe something that's coming up, trying to get a loan or looking for a new job, or um, asking for a raise or something like that, you might use the fish as your significator card because it's associated with money and finances. And so, you can do things like that. And then you can look where that card is in relation to the rest of the spread and the other cards that are around it, and maybe use it in a shorter spread and use that card first or in the middle or something, and get really good information about it. So the cards are flexible. They're not as kind of inflexible, or not as flexible as tarot, because I think, or oracle, because I think that they have much broader kind of intuitive meanings. And Lenormand has a little bit more like, this is it, and this is how it works in this way, and this is how it works with these cards around it, and this is how it works in this space, and this is how it works. This card works in its own house. This card works in a different house, and you'll learn all of that as we go along. But I just wanted to give you kind of an introduction and tell you a little bit about my Lenormand past and history, and I want to teach this class because I like to teach. And this is something that I want to get back in touch with. I feel like that I really was connecting with Lenormand and Lenormand cards for a while. And recently, I really want to make that connection again. And so going through a book, using a couple of new decks, and and just going through and learning about the cards again, reading about the cards and reading, another opinion about the cards, another how one person interprets the cards, and maybe bring in a little bit more of another person. And I can tell you about some of my practices and how it's been used, how I've used Lenormand. And the other thing is, Lenormand is such a great tool to use with other divination practices. Anything, oracle cards, tarot cards, runes, anything that you want to use, Lenormand is really good for that. And so you can use it, for a daily draw if you like to do that. And it's a really good tool to use with other things. And so I'll talk to you about some ways that I have used Lenormand in the past, and maybe come up with some new ways that I would like to use it going forward. So what we're going to do, and let me share my screen here because I've got just a few slides here that you can see. So here we have this is going to be lessons from Lenormand, and it's going to be several classes that I'll do, hopefully every other week. I'm hoping that I will get a class up every other week, and we'll just see how it goes. Some might be, a little bit more if I feel like that it's not, we need less time, or it might be a little bit more if I feel like that it's longer, that we need longer, or I just, need some more time myself. So lessons from Lenormand, and here's the schedule. And I'll also have a link to a PDF for you that will have all of this on it. It will have the schedule on it. It'll have the things that I'm using, and then I'll have some journaling card or journaling sheets that you can use to take notes on if you would like to use this as kind of a workbook as we go along. So class one is this one, Introduction to Material Prep. So that's what I'm going to do with you today. The next class will be start with the book that we're using, the intro and part one. And that's pretty easy. So that might be, within a week or so and getting that up for you. But I want to give people time if they want to get the book or want to get some Lenormand cards to do that. And read the intro part one. And it's pretty short. I think it's about 20 pages or so, and it's good. But then I have some questions for you as well, and you will see those. And then class three, we're going to start with the cards. And so I've broken the cards down here into these weeks. So we have 6 cards every week, and then plus one of the exercises or spreads that Rana George has in her book that I'm going to talk to you about in just a second. So class three is the Rider, Clover, Ship, House, Tree, and Clouds. Class 4, Snake, Coffin, Bouquet, Scythe, Whip, and Birds, plus the answer line. Class 5, Child, Fox, Bear, Stars, Stork, and Dog, and the box spread. Class 6, Tower, Garden, Mountain, Crossroads, Mice, and Heart, and the decision spread. Class 7, Ring, Book, Letter, Man, Woman, and Lilies, and the last astrological spread. Class 8, Sun, Moon, Key, Fish, Anchor, and Cross, and then the pyramid spread. And then we're going to do some other spreads with it, the cross spread and the changing fortune for class 9. Class 10 will be the grand tableau, and class 11, the Lenormand houses. And then we'll have like a wrap up session. And anything that we missed in the book or anything that I've come along, then we'll have that in the wrap up. And you can ask questions and things like that in that last class. And then I'll answer, I can answer them in the final class. So that is the schedule. And again, I'll have all this on a PDF for you. And then the recommended resources, your favorite Lenormand deck. And I'm going to be using 2 different decks. This one is I'll show you in the next page, but I'm going to be using this one, the Sweet Blossom Lenormand. And then Rana George has her own Lenormand deck, and it looks like this. So you can see these are the 2 that I'm going to be using. So any Lenormand deck that you want to use. The Essential Lenormand, Your Guide to Precise and Practical Fortune Telling by Rana George. And you can get the book, wherever you get your books. A notebook or a journal and pens, and you can definitely I'll have journaling pages for you in the PDF, and you can use that. You have a notebook that you like to take notes in and write your spreads in, then that'll be great too. And then if you just want to follow along and learn and just listen along, you can make your own Lenormand cards. You can just find 36 pieces of paper or cardstock, cut them up in little pieces, and write the number and the title, maybe put a little drawing on it if you want, and put any notes that you want to make with it as well. So any keywords that you want to put on that as well. So you can use that along with a Lenormand deck. You can make your own, if you just want to follow along. I mean, it's very easy to do, and it's very fun to do because you can just put your own keywords on it, or you can have the small cards and just put your keywords on it as we go along, and then you can have the title of the card. And you can do this if you have a Lenormand deck that you don't mind writing on. You can take one, and I've done that before, used a deck that was kind of a very simple Lenormand deck that just had just the picture on it and the number and the title. And then I put just a keyword or 2 on it for myself. And so that was very helpful. So if you don't mind using a deck like that, you can very much do that. And I'll try to remember to show you how I did that with one of my decks that I have. Then here is the book, The Essential Lenormand by Rana George. And then you see over here, this is her per Lenormand deck, and it has the number at the top. And I don't think it has, I think it just has, I don't think it has the title on it. And some, you'll find some decks don't. They'll have the number and not the title, or it'll have the number and the title and not the playing card associations. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later too. But if you like using playing cards and you like this is playing card associations, then you can see that. But see, you see here, this one just has 24 for heart and it's a heart. And this one doesn't have the playing cards on it. It has the number and then it has the title down at the bottom. So it's nine and bouquet. And this is the Sweet Blossom Lenormand. And you can find this one. I think this one's pretty, I don't know if it's pretty new, but it's pretty easy to find. I found it in my local metaphysical store. And so I think it's one that you can easily pick up. And it's very cute and it's very sweet. And it is, I just really like working with it. So, or there's tons out there that you can look at and find your own. And you will see that most Lenormand cards are small, smaller like this. You will find bigger ones that are more tarot card size, but I find those, if I'm going to use them for a reading, maybe just a 3-card reading or maybe even a 9-card reading, I'll use those. But a lot of times, if I'm doing a grand tableau, using those smaller cards are very, very easy. And you'll see also there's lots of artists that have Lenormand tiles out there that you can buy, and they're just little, little tiles that you can use, and they're really fun too. So you just, look around and see what appeals to you and see that what you want to use. But these are the ones I'll be using in class and the book. And so for the next class, I have read the introduction in part 1 in the book, which is pages 1 through 23. So it's not a whole lot. And then answer the following questions for yourself. And this is just kind of some reflection questions. It's not a right or wrong, but what is Lenormand to you? And number 2, what tools and practices do you currently use for divination? Number 3, how do you hope to use Lenormand for yourself and for others? Number 4, what do you already know about Lenormand? And number 5, what is one question you hope will be answered for you during this course? It's always good to look ahead and see, and you might not know anything right now, but you might just have some general questions. But, just think about, what you would hope to know. And you can always, put that down in the comments. And so I can see it and make sure that I will put it in a lesson going forward. So that is it. So again, you don't have to, if you don't want to get the book and read the book, you can always just follow along as I go through all the cards, make your own notes and do it that way. So there's no pressure for you to get a book if you don't want to get, want to buy the book, or you just want to make your own cards, or you just want to take some notes because you're just interested in Lenormand, but you're not sure if something that you want to use right now. So just do that and you will get, I hope a lot out of the class in any way that you decide to participate. So that's it. And I'll show you these. So this is, you can see the Sweet Blossom Lenormand. It looks like this. And you can see, it's it's a smallish deck, and a lot of Lenormand decks are smallish. And I think this one is also, this is Rana George's Lenormand, and this is Mice. And so you can see how they are smaller and how they are, some like Rana George's is much busier, and there's a lot more there are more scenes than just the symbol, and more are, there's some that are even more, you'll just see an anchor and that's it. And I'll have the number, anchor, the picture of an anchor and the anchor at the bottom. And I'll show you that next time because I have one that's like that. And that's the one that I use to write on and make some keywords on it. So getting the introduction, get some Lenormand cards, watch a couple of videos or something about Lenormand. And next time when we meet, we'll go through and talk about, just Lenormand and what it means to you and the different, some of the things that Raina George has to say about Lenormand. And then we'll start in the next class with the actual cards. So thank you for being here today. And if you do have any questions or comments about Lenormand or about anything that you want to see in these classes coming up, please let me know, and I will be glad to put that in the class and put things in going forward so that you can get as much out of it as you would like. So I'm really excited. I'm very much looking forward to this, and then over the next several weeks and learning Lenormand, getting some lessons from Lenormand and sharing them with you. So I'll see you hopefully in about a week with class 2.